I've got a little fact.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. The fact is this: that based on memorials and statues, the world's greatest ever poet is Robbie Burns. Based on the number of memorials and statues, the world's greatest poet would be Robbie Burns.
Wow. Wow. Yes. Great Scottish poet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Memorials and statues. Why?
Yeah.
Why would Robert Burns have so many memorials and statues? Oh, maybe because a lot of his stuff was fitting for the dead. For that reason, I'll say it. I was going to say the Bard. Surely it's Shakespeare. Surely it's
A lot of his
Shakespeare.
stuff was fitting for the dead. I'd like you to kind of expand on that because I'm struggling to imagine that. Was that
Well,
really a thing?
no, it was is a lot of his poems, aren't they quoted at funerals and things like that? Or
I mean,
eulogies,
there are
or
poems that are quoted
so
at funerals, but not, not. I don't think because sort of thematically, they are about the dead. There are. I mean, obviously, he has one particularly memorable poem is about parting and the bittersweet sorrow of losing someone. A fond kiss, which is actually about him breaking up with his wife at the time, and he used to cheat on her all the time, and yeah, he was a bit of a bastard, and he used to cheat on her all the time, and eventually she was like, I can't take this anymore, and they split, and he wrote a fond kiss, and then we sever, aye, farewell, alas, forever, and then he got over it quite quickly, and he ended up having 12 kids, the last of whom was called Max and was born on the day that it was his funeral. So he had kids right up until he
so
died.
it's
But
based on a true event.
yeah. But she, on the other hand, her name was Nancy. She, on the other hand, spent 40 years every year on his on the day that he broke up with her, the 12th or the 13th of December, writing in her journal. Today's that day. So she missed him for the
Oh my
next like 40
word!
years. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so Robbie Burns, anyway, he's a big kind of Scottish, big figure in the Scottish, but I don't know whether it's about death or.
I'll say statues and memorials. Yes, it's the truth, because I think, for example, if it says "the Lord is my shepherd" on tombstones, that would mean that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so
I
I
see what
think
you're
for
saying.
that reason, Robbie Burns, yes, he
Oh no,
might be the
I'm
most
talking. No, hang on. Well, let's exclude that then. I'm talking specific
owed
memorials,
for
and
Robbie.
statues of Robbie
It's gotta
Burns
be-
and to Robbie Burns.
It's got to be William Shakespeare. I would go with Shakespeare. Or Milton, maybe John Milton, but no. Or even, not that he wrote poems, but Chaucer. But no, he wasn't really poetry. But I'll say no, it's Shakespeare. It's not Robbie
Okay.
Burns.
So there is only one source for this, and that is the Scottish government, who have claimed that this is in fact true. And the reason why they believe it's true, because there's been no real kind of accounting. It's more like an apocryphal thing. So we can, Dietz can decide how he wants to split these points. But the reason why it's true is because so many Scottish people left Scotland, and then they took Robbie Burns and his poetry with them. And quite a lot of his poetry is like a big part of Scottish life, and not just Scottish life, but he wrote Auld Lang Syne, which isn't only it's a New Year's song that's sung around the world, and it's a song that's sung in China as a kind of meeting of friends type of scenario. So, but what they believe is that so many Scottish people left and took Robbie Burns with them, and then erected statues and monuments. So there's statues and monuments to him in Australia, in New Zealand. There's towns named after him or named after his old farm. In America, in New Zealand, there's and obviously Scotland itself has got loads of statues and memorials to him. In 2009, he was voted the greatest ever living Scotsman, ahead of William Wallace and like all these kind of Robert Bruce and
Andy Murray, the tennis player.
Yeah, I mean, who could if you can believe it. But yeah, so he's a kind of a figure that's core to the Scottish experience. So the Scottish government believes that they actually say that after Queen Victoria and Christopher Columbus, he's got the most statues, if you exclude religious figures. Wow. So there, yeah.
Queen Victoria, Christopher Columbus. What a hell of a fact.
So that's what the Scottish government says. I don't know. They don't appear to have any numbers to back it up, if I'm honest. I did have a look. But what's interesting is he really did have a bit of an impact that went beyond just the name Robbie Burns. I think when you mention someone like Shakespeare or Milton, or people know the stature of these guys, but they don't necessarily know the stature of Robbie Burns. Like some interesting stuff I found out. John Steinbeck's classic 1937 novel of Mice and Men took its name from a line in the Burns poem "To a Mouse, the best laid schemes of mice and men gang after gley," which is so that's Robbie Burns. J.D. Salinger's 1951 novel "The Catcher in the Rye" is based on the title of Robert Burns' poem "Coming Through the Rye." So, he's, and of course, Auld Lang Syne is, it's in the Guinness Book of Records as being the third most popular song in the world after Happy Birthday and for He's a Jolly Good Fellow.
Good grief.
So, yeah.
Jeez, wow.
So, he's had this impact that I think extends long beyond what most people would say. So there you are. Oh, according to memorials and statues and the Scottish government alone, the American government believes that person at the top of the pile would be Abraham Lincoln. And listen, let's be honest, they have tried their very best within America to raise statues to Abraham Lincoln. But I think outside of America, there aren't any statues to Abraham Lincoln, whereas Robbie Burns has extended beyond his own home country to have memorials. So there you are.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And not to mention, most hospitals have a Burns unit.
That's correct. Yeah. But so there's a thing that they do, and I think it's 25th of January every year, which is I think it's his memorial night, and it's called Burns Night, and Scottish people get together and they read his poems and they eat haggis and toast with whiskey and read his poems. It's a kind of classic thing that people still do. Wow, and that tradition started just a couple of years after his death, which was in the early 1800s.
Good grief.
So yeah, there you are.
That's wonderful.